Greetings everyone, welcome back to Blade Bias. Today I want to take us back to the sort of roots of the channel, just talking about more conceptual stuff while I wait for some pretty cool things to arrive that I can cover. And the thing that I want to talk about today is the power of comparison. Because my gosh, have I had an experience with that over the past few weeks. So about a week ago, I went home for break, and it was pretty cool. Because all I decided to do was just catch up on everything that I needed to catch up on. YouTube stuff, personal stuff, even fun stuff, playing video games and stuff like that. So now I've got, you know, the Blade Show video pretty much ready to go as soon as I can get a little bit more time to just finish the thumbnail. And I've got things, I did like the Bally Awards and all that. But one thing that I did do was I only brought home 2 Balisongs. You might have seen in the videos that I made, I only had these 2. Because I wasn't really in the mood to pack up my whole collection that I knew I probably wasn't going to flip, when these 2 are really the only things that I need. My favorite live blade and my favorite trainer. And the crazy thing is that trip and the experience of having only these 2 made me realize just how much comparison matters in a hobby like this. Especially when you're in my position of, you know, getting Balisongs and talking about them quite a bit. Because there was a period of time where the Slift T and the Prisma Pro had a bit too much handle bias for me. I go through these phases where I just really prefer almost blade bias stuff. And I've noticed that it really only comes in when I get Balisongs that are more towards that preference. Most notably the Orion. The Orion, for the few weeks after I got it, was like the only thing that I wanted to flip because it just felt so very good to me. It was very neutral-ish feeling, and it just flipped really nicely. It did what I wanted it to do. It carried enough momentum, and it was just really nice. And it made other things in my collection feel handle biased and almost slow. Even though that wasn't how I felt about them, that's how it made them feel. So going home with just these 2 and flipping only these 2, which was I mostly flip my Slift T in my off time. Very basic stuff, just like at my desk and stuff like that, but still. Flipped the Slift T the most and got used to it again. The handle bias thing went away, and now, for the first time in a little bit actually, it feels about like it did when I first tried it all the way back in Blade Show. I don't feel that little bit of handle bias. Feels very, it's not neutral because I know it isn't, but it certainly doesn't feel as handle biased as it has to me in the past. And the same thing with the Prisma Pro. For a while, the Prisma Pro had this little weird bit of handle bias to me, and it just, I'm not going to say it wasn't my favorite because I still love the Prisma Pro, but it caused me to flip it a little bit less than I normally would have. And again, the reset kind of helped with that. It helped fix that. And it's crazy because really all that happened is I stopped flipping the Orion for a little bit. The Orion was a balance profile that made me not like the balance profiles of other Balisongs that I have tried, or that I've historically really liked in my collection. And I think that's wild. It's when you get something new and you're flipping it just all the time, how it can change your view on everything else that you have. And now that I've basically only flipped the Slift T for about a week, now all like the super handle bias stuff in my collection doesn't feel as handle biased as it once did. It's a really fascinating phenomenon, and one that I want to dive into in my, maybe not next video, but a future video where I talk about why balance feels like such a subjective thing in the community nowadays. But it just goes to show you how much comparison really matters in something like this. Because it kind of answers all the questions of why no one can agree on anything in this hobby. You've got this person who has a Kraken Trainer 2.5 and is like, oh, it feels really good to me. It's like and that's all they have, and it feels really good to them, and they think it's great. But then you compare that to someone like me who has all these other Balisongs that are much more neutral than the Kraken Trainer 2.5. And since that's a balance profile that I, prefer, the Kraken Trainer just feels really gross and handle biased to me. which, oh my gosh, the Sirius feels amazing to me right now. Which obviously that's not all that it is. It's also, you know, there's a ton of preference that goes into it. But comparison legitimately is a huge thing. There's so many cases of people only having one Balisong and being like, this is the best thing ever, you know, because that's all they have to compare to. And then they try other stuff, and one of two things is going to happen. Either they're going to like the thing that they have more, or they're going to not like it as much because they like the new thing better. But if you give that person a week or two to just spend with a thing that they used to really like, they'll probably go back to really liking it. It's very interesting how it works like that. And I think it plays a lot into how our community views, you know, what's good, what's bad, and why we disagree on things so much. Which, again, I'm going to go into that when I talk about balance in the next few videos here. But yeah, it's crazy. Whole point of this video being just kind of talking about how crazy it is, how much a knife can change when you just get used to it. Because that's the other thing. It's also just getting used to it. When the Slift T feels kind of heavy and handle biased to me, I shouldn't say heavy. The Slift T never feels heavy. But when the Slift T feels more handle biased to me than normal, it's usually because, you know, I'm not terribly used to it. I haven't been flipping it that much, which is true of all of my live blades lately. I don't really flip all my live blades while I'm up here because, you know, I like having not band-aids all over my hands. But you get used to something and it just feels more natural. You don't get used to something and it feels way less natural. And it's very interesting. I don't really know, like, the point I'm trying to make here. But if you have a Balisong that you really don't like, well, I shouldn't say that you really don't like. If you have a Balisong that you're on the fence about, maybe just flip it and it only for a few days and see how your taste changes. Because I've found it very, very interesting. Going back to my collection after that break, things that I didn't really like flipping as much now feel way better to me. Like my Nemesis doesn't feel as heavy and handle biased as it used to. It sort of feels like it used to me back like last summer, last year. Fairly like end-weighted, almost neutral. But that also could have to do with another thing, which is that I haven't been flipping as much lately, which I'll go into in the balance video that I eventually post. Anyway, I think that's going to do it for this video. Thanks for listening to me mindlessly ramble for a few minutes. And I wish you all the best if you're going into finals week as the end of the semester approaches. And if you're not, enjoy the time before Christmas, because you won't if you're in college. Or if you're past college, congratulations. But have a good one, everyone. See you in the next one.